Hello, my name is Dallas, and I'm making this video to persuade you that public schools should no longer enforce uniforms upon their students. So, did you ever have to wear uniforms in high school? And if you didn't, do you think it would solve any problems such as bullying or harassment among students? I went to Goshen High School here in Mississippi, and we had a dress code we had to follow: khakis, black or brown belt, black or brown shoes, school shirt, common uniform attire. And I don't think it solved any of the problems that it was supposed to. And supporters argue that uniforms improve the academic experience and protect students from social anxieties. However, I don't think that's the case, and I think enforcing uniforms causes more problems than it solves. And now I'll discuss some of those problems from enforcing uniforms. The first problem I'll talk about is it's an unnecessary additional expense to the parents, especially the families that can't afford to make any more additional expenses. So they have to go out of their way to buy another set of clothes that will only be used for school. The kids won't be using it after school or on the weekends or special occasions or nothing. So the kids could be wearing what they already wear instead of the parents having to buy an additional set of clothes among all the other clothes that the kid's going to want. Another problem is when kids are forced to wear a uniform, they lose the option to express themselves through their choice of clothing. The way you dress is kind of part of your identity and the way others see you. And the way that you want to be seen, you dress how you want. And if everyone dresses the same way, these kids can lose their sense of individualism and their own self-worth. And some argue that uniforms close the gap between the rich and the poor. However, I don't think that's the case. The idea behind that is that if all the kids are in the same uniform, that there can be no teasing or bullying because everybody's wearing the same thing. However, poorer people would simply buy knockoffs of the uniform or off-brand or whatever, or they could even make their own clothes through cheaper clothing. I've seen people do that in my school. And for the kids that may have gotten bullied for their fashion sense or lack of fashion sense, I should say, they have to learn somehow. And when are they going to learn about their own fashion sense? They're not going to learn at all if they're forced to wear the same thing that also everybody else wears all the time. They'll just never learn. And some supporters argue that uniforms make students perform better, but I counter that argument by saying uniforms are nothing more than pieces of clothing. And in the end, it's up to the student to decide to pay attention in class or to study harder. It's his decision in the end, his or her decision. And one final problem I'll discuss is these schools enforcing uniforms also distract the administrators from their other problems that they have to deal with and all the other special duties that are important to the school running and important to the students' learning. So how do we solve this problem? For these reasons, and there's many more reasons why we should stop promoting school uniforms altogether. I think we need to start teaching these kids about becoming their own individual and how to become their own person. And we need to talk to school administrators and people higher up who can actually enact this change. And I'm gonna say again, I think uniforms cause more problems than they solve, and I don't think they even solve the problems that they're implemented to solve. And these uniforms also play a huge factor on the kids that lose their sense of individualism, and some of these kids never learn their self-worth, or their own identity. They just need to, be more on their own a little bit. And because of this also, some high school graduates have a harder time fitting in the adult life after they graduate high school, and it's hard to be your own person. And what can you do? What can we do? So many students and parents start petitions to accelerate the change that they want, and you can show support by putting your name into these petitions. I'll have one in the link in my outline as an example. You can, if you have a kid, or even if you just a school, you could speak to the administrators directly. And you can also ask around, fellow teachers, fellow students, fellow parents, see how many others agree with you and who also want change. And yeah, that's about it.